Not gonna lie.
It's the PPC Radio Show, hosted by Cinda Williams and co-hosted by Shelly Williams. Music by All Night Long. DJ Joe Storm on the Grown Folks Radio. WGFB-FM radio.
So are you ready? Yeah.
How it used to be. Something for everyone. 24/7, 365.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
For the health and safety of our guests and team members, we're here for you. That means frequently deep cleaning our stores and wiping down carts and baskets after each use, reserving dedicated shopping hours for our most vulnerable guests, providing masks and gloves to our team members, and offering contactless shopping options through the Target app, like Drive Up and same-day delivery. We are here for you now more than ever, and your health and safety is our highest priority. Learn more at target.com/a-bullseye-view.
New Dunkin' Refreshers. Vibrant fruit flavors like strawberry, dragon fruit, and peach passion fruit. B vitamins and energy from green tea. All under 200 calories. Order ahead via the Dunkin' app for a contactless way to order, pay, and pick up in the drive-thru. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer.
Amazon is hiring near you. Earn a competitive wage and start as soon as 7 days. No resume or experience required. Health and safety are a top priority with all of Amazon's roles and sites. Amazon is taking precautions in their buildings to keep people healthy. Go to amazon.com/apply. That's amazon.com/apply. Amazon is an equal opportunity employer.
Hey everybody, it is Shelly Shell Williams, host of Single on a Saturday Night. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Single on a Saturday Night TV. That's at Single on a Saturday Night TV. Follow us on Instagram and we'll follow back.
Hi, this is Cinda Williams. Before there was a PPC podcast or PPC radio show, there was Pink Panty Confessions, the book. No, I didn't write a book about underwear. It is a self-help memoir where I share some of my strange, complicated, and inspiring moments. It's a blessing for me to share with you. You can find it on Amazon.com or wherever books are sold.
Let me clear my throat. I am the legendary DJ Cool, and if I were you, I would keep my joint locked to GrownFolksRadio.com. They keeping you up on the latest everything out here. Don't forget the name, GrownFolksRadio.com.
PPC, 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 yeah. PPC, PPC, CPC, yeah. Join me so we can grow together. Conversation, get that healing. Let them know what they're missing. Share with your best friend. Tell them come hear this, yeah. Your damage, your blessings, powerful lessons, true confessions, yeah. PPC, yeah. A powerful tool for you and me. PPC, yeah. A powerful tool for you and me. PPC, yeah.
All right, welcome to today's PPC radio show. Shelly Shell Williams, my sister, is here, and DJ Kid Disco, aka Eddie Davis, is also here with us today because we feel like DJ Kid Disco should not be in the black because he's going to have a part of this conversation that's important. What do you think, DJ Kid Disco?
Well, after the conversation we had on the morning show, I need something softer.
Well, we were kind of intense today, I guess. We were kind of intense today. Well, I was, at least. It's been a rough few days for me, so I have been spinning out of control.
Spinning out of control.
I have been. So I'm happy to be here and with two of my favorite new friends. And we have, do you have anything to say, Shelly, before we bring on our guest?
Oh no, I'm just excited. I'm here. We're good. Let's go.
All right. Well, we're going to introduce now Jarrell Reed of the Daily Read podcast. And he is a Chicago brother, much younger than me, so he'd be a younger brother, that started off in Cabrini Green and had his life there and eventually found his way to government work and community work and helping his brothers and sisters. So we're very excited to have him today. Jarrell Reed.
Jarrell Reed. Let him know.
All
Jarrell
right.
in the house. I say Jarrell's in the house.
You're on mute, man. You're on mute. Everybody does it. Take yourself off mute. There you go.
I can't take y'all in public. I'm joking.
Welcome to the PPC radio show. And I just want to say this. I had to rebrand my Pink Panty Confessions because too many people didn't understand what that was about. So it's a personal, powerful conversations. That is what we do here. Jarrell, tell us, though, for those that did not listen to the podcast, shame on you, who you are. Tell us about yourself.
Well, like I said before, I grew up in public housing. I was the young black male growing up as a teenager who had 1 foot in and 1 foot out, so to speak. And I had some people in my life that kind of was trying to keep me on a straight and narrow path, but I was a knucklehead. But who I am, I'm a father. I carry many titles and raising my teenagers, working in public service and doing things in the community, and taking those things from public housing that I learned, those values, and bringing those forward and giving those kids some of my life experience so that they don't mess up like I did. So that's kind of who I am. That's kind of what I preach, even on my podcast. When I talk about economic viability and what we need to do as African Americans, I took some of those things growing up in public housing, growing up in the system, and I kind of put those things forward as an adult now.
Okay, well, since you opened up that Pandora's box, let's go back. Let's go back. So tell us about your childhood.
My grandma, she migrated, the Great Migration from the South, and she ended up on the South Side of Chicago. And then a little shortly after, she moved to Cabrini Green, where she, at the time, she already had 2 kids, my uncle, and then my mom was born here. She had my mom. My dad's mom and my dad's father was a part of the Great Migration too, and they migrated from Little Rock, Arkansas, and they moved to Cabrini. So that's how my mom and dad met. That's where I was born. My dad moved from public housing, and we kind of stayed. Then we moved to another housing project just north of Cabrini. And my grandma, she bought a house, and that's how I was exposed to the west side of Chicago. But people, they always say, like you mentioned earlier, look down upon you when they find out you're from a certain demographic, from a certain area. I wouldn't change it one bit. In fact, as I mentioned before, I didn't start getting into trouble and start getting into mischief until I moved to the west side of Chicago. When I was in the projects, I was sheltered. The adults and grown-ups, even though it was a bad environment, it was enough things to take part in to stay out of trouble. And thinking back, in public housing, we probably had about 14 different youth programs to take part in throughout the year to keep us out of trouble. West Side Chicago, once the park closes and once the library closes, that was it. So that was kind of my upbringing coming up as an adolescent, as a teenager, coming through public housing. Even though I moved out and eventually we resided on the west side, all of my summers and my weekends were still spent in Cabrini because all the youth programs were there. All the basketball tournaments, all the volunteer work, all the summer jobs, all the things to take part in, to have fun and to kind of stay out of trouble. When I was 13, I got a summer job. My grandma set me up with a summer job because she had been involved in politics, involved in public service. So I got a summer job, 13, 14, 15. When I was 16, that's when I was really kind of spiraling out of control because my cousin just got murdered 2 years before. But I got another summer job at the Secretary of State because back then I used to hire teenagers to keep them out of trouble. And that's when I used the phrase having 1 foot out, 1 foot in, because when I was 16 is when I got arrested, caught a case. And people always say, well, kids need things to do. Yes, we need things to do, but when you take a child out of an environment and they haven't had any therapy, they haven't had any things to help them with the issues they dealt with in terms of the systemic stuff that goes on in public housing, the drugs, the violence. If you haven't had anything to check that in place, a job won't cure it. So I was 16 working for the state with an armed robbery and battery charge, and in fact, I didn't get off probation until I was 18. So that 2 years was a very emotional time. Those 2 years going through that because I saw what it kind of did to my grandma because my cousin just got murdered, and when I got arrested, that's all was in her head, that he's gonna get murdered and he's gonna go down the same path. And for me, what happened was I just got caught because no one knew it, but I did a whole lot of stuff from the age of 10 to 16. I never got caught. Because I was always calculated. I don't like handcuffs on me. I don't like going to jail. I see what that does to our people. But that particular day that it happened, I made a crucial mistake and I went back to the crime scene. That's how I got caught. So I just kind of took that on the chin, and I really got to experience what the system does to black men. As a teenager, the pre-trial hearing, the judge threw me on home confinement. And I'm like, look, dude, like my male counterparts got 4 or 5 cases pending, probably got 4 or 5 kids. They don't go to school. I don't have any of that. And you gonna throw me on home confinement? It's my first case. So I got a chance to experience what, how the system will take a confused black male and turn him into a real live felon. I saw it happen. And even because what they try to do, they try to flip you. So they knew that I didn't really have anything to do with it per se. But I was caught in the middle of it and I knew who did it. So they try to get you to flip it, try to get you to roll. And I'm like, I gotta go to school with these dudes. And if I feel like I should have just went straight home. So since she was there, you gotta pay the consequences. So I'm not gonna tell on nobody. So that's kind of what my teenage years were. 16.
So
17,
did you wait a
18.
minute? So did you said probation? Did you have to? So then you never went to jail. You just stayed at home.
So yeah, I was on home confinement, and they put you through pre-trial stuff to keep kind of keep tabs on you, and I couldn't participate in extracurricular activities. I couldn't go outside after a certain amount of time. It was almost like house arrest without a ban. Before you even go to court, before the judge even hears your case, that's what they do to you. So, but the long story short, I end up with that. I fought it for 7 to 8 months. I had a public defender, which was actually a really great public defender. And he was like, man, we can beat this case. And then one day I called to just get a status hearing, and he got fired just for some strange reason. And they appointed, he was a Jewish guy too. He was real nice to me. He was real on top of things. They appointed a brother. The brother come up in there my first day to out plead guilty. I ain't introduced himself or nothing. That's what I had to deal with. So when I saw what they were doing, they were trying to railroad me. They were trying to send me to county actually, because the case got continued until I was 17. I was still fighting it. So now I'm at that adult stage almost. And I went ahead and pled guilty, but I did it on my terms. They tried to offer me 5 years probation. I'm like, nope, not taking it. So, and it was like, who is this kid? Like, he's going to fight us? I'm like, I'm not taking it. So I ended up doing a year of probation. 2 years, they gave me 2 years probation. I did a year. And actually, my probation officer stood up for me. Like, this is not a kid that belongs on probation. He doesn't belong in our system. Move that we take him on probation. So how they trick you is, with these cases to get you to plead guilty, oh, it's okay when you're 18, it'll come off your record, which was true, it did. But I wanted to get in law enforcement. And I wanted to get my FOID card. Because I had a FOID card at 16, which is a firearms card. And they revoked it, and I didn't know it. So when I got off probation, I went to reapply for it. They sent me a nice little sweet letter. You're going to be ineligible to apply for a firearms card until 2016. This was in 2004. You know, so they put you, you know, through stuff like that. So I say all that to say, having those summer jobs and being around the policy and being around the legal system and being around the politicians, it gave me a window on how to go and get your record expunged without hiring legal counsel. And I did it pro se. I ended up getting my record expunged. Lo and behold, there was a black prosecutor who wanted to deny my expungement. And the judge was like, as a white judge, he was like, look, this kid is no background besides this. He works in government. Why would we deny his expungement? So I got a full expungement, which they're hard to come by. And I got that off my record, and I was able to move forward. But that one mistake when I was 16 cost me all the way until I was almost 22 years old. Because I didn't get my record expunged 2009. So this happened in the early 2000s. So I always tell guys, you know, you have to be, the system is already against you. Just going in the door. So you have to make decisions that don't cost you 5 to 7 years of your life. So that's kind of what some of my teenage years was, having that 1 foot out.
But it cost you, but you learned a lot to help. That's why you're able to help people right now. But the key thing he said was, during the process, you came across some black people that didn't help. And we always say Black Lives Matter, we want to help each other, but you came across black people that have you go 2 feet back.
Yep, and try to do you in. Because once again, like Cinda mentioned, those preconceived notions. And I get them now. I'm 37 and people have all these preconceived notions. Like even when I was younger and I would go to different events, different political functions, I would be in a suit and tie, and you rubbing elbows with people that's in federal law enforcement, federal officials, congressional officials, and they see a young man in a suit and they embrace him with open arms. And I would see those same people with the clothes I got on now, they wouldn't even recognize me. So it's a funny business to be in, very funny business.
Perceptions are real, you know, and we everybody that's listening, we do like a pre-interview. First of all, there's the podcast, so we get to know a little bit, and then we're like on for about a half an hour talking amongst each other. We have really great conversations that we should be recording. And we were talking about just a little about this whole, how people, we're just going to talk about us. We all black here. So we're just going to talk about us right now. We don't know about other people. We are harder on our folks than other people are sometimes. You know, once we say we come from a difficult background and we make it out, we work hard, we fight, and we get out. And then we're like, well, I fought hard and I got out, so you can too. So you're going to pay for your mistakes. And so we're so hard on each other that it's other people that are lifting us up and out sometimes, and not us. Those of us that are in a position to help. And those of us in the church, even, it's like in the church, they spend so much time oftentimes judging, doing God's job, that they forget serving and loving thy neighbor like Jesus taught, you know? So
that's the truth. When you talk about I know I made it off of, you know, being able to be connected with Dorothy Brunson, but the high paying job that I had, the career that I had was another person, not someone black, someone who was my dearest friend, that helped me get to the platform of corporate America, making good paycheck. There was not a Black person who helped me. And then when that same person, when I was down and out, I had to humble myself and go to people I thought they had a lot of money. They in the industry. We're in this industry, right? So I'm going humble. I'm about to lose my health. I need your help. They said, I thought you was better than that. Not let me help you. I thought you was better than that. I go to the same person who got me, put me in position throughout the years. I went to that same person. So you know who helped me out? That person. He's a wonderful human being from the heart. It wasn't Black Lives Matter. It wasn't Black. It was another person, that wasn't us. The us thought you was better than that. Why do we do that? Why are we doing that?
We live in a capitalist society, and unfortunately,
I think it's deep. I think it's we've been taught to hate each other.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We've been taught to be crabs in a pot. We have been taught that I can't have mine if I give you something. I can't. You might take my job if I help you, because only one of us can make it. I'm gonna be that one. My life matters. I don't care about the rest of y'all. My life matters. And so since it's my life, and that comes from a deep-seated, very thoughtful and conscious act by people to keep us in our place. And we have bought into that crap.
Divide and conquer. Without going to melanated Willie Lynch, and I'm gonna just leave it at that.
I mean, you're right. We've bought into it, but I'm hoping what I see. I don't operate like that. I help everybody, but I'm hoping that things are changing, because I remember being in corporate, and I knew that God didn't say that I was supposed to stay in corporate. So when the man, my boss, who was my friend and my boss, he's the owner of the company, said, well, if you had to work with anybody in this company to be in your place, this is what he asked me. If it's anybody in this company being in your place, who would you pick? And I was like, and I told her name, and that's who's in that right there, right now. And I was like, yes, I love her. She's amazing. I sang her praises like she was, because she was. I mean, if it was any human being, she was that. I could have hated on her and said, ain't nobody better than that. I could have. But in my spirit, I was like, I love her. I'm like, I saw her from across the room, like, listen, can you help me? Let's do this. So I feel like we're changing. I think the climate is changing. And I think with everything went on with the Black Lives Matter, with George Floyd, with everything, I think people might be changing. Have you experienced that with working with children now? Daily Read podcast, Jarrell?
Chicago's a little different.
Ooh.
I think the younger you get them, the better off it is. The problem here is the older people. It ain't the kids. It's funny you mention that. So when I worked in the Department of Corrections, over there, the people that's been locked up the longest, they're less of an issue, and they really got it together. They're just locked up. You get more issues out of the kids that come in 17 and 25. The flip side to that is, now that I'm out here back on the street and working in the community, I get more issues out of the older people, not the kids.
Yeah, because what do you mean by issues? What type of issues?
Ignorance, not uplifting, not trying to help people. Some of your church folks are the worst. Chicago has 1,835 churches, about 1,200 of those in the Black community. They're doing nothing. Absolutely nothing. The shootings here, they're ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. When I mentioned growing up in public housing, when I was over there, we had about 13 different youth programs where not only did they keep kids busy, it gave them a platform to take off and run with. Now, none of that stuff exists anymore. And some of these organizations that are out here that they say they're helping, they're not. Just take American Red Cross, for example. Like 80% of their money gets ate up in administrative salary. So who you helping? So
to a salary.
Yeah, a lot of organizations like that they look like they're helping, but they're not. And
you would know this because your comptroller are working with them, right? you
Well,
know.
the comptroller, you get to learn a lot up there about who's like where the money's flowing. But just being around this stuff just in general and working for being in the back room when the deal was being cut, that you think the deal was being cut in the so-called interest of black folks, and it's not. Like, I've been there. I used to work for a state rep that got indicted. The feds swiped him up, and I knew he was dirty. And I told everybody, it's like when the feds come get you and they don't interview your chief of staff or your manager, they just come get you and don't talk to nobody else, they got you. You know, so a lot of these politicians too, they are so far removed from what's going on in the community. It's a shame.
Chicago is special. I mean, it's my hometown. I'm from there. I love it. But the corruption runs deep. That gangster stuff ain't never gone away. It ain't never gone away. It's still very entrenched. And when I say gangster, I'm not talking about gangs. I'm talking about back to the mafia days. I'm talking about, you know, but even they took care of people. They took care of the communities. It's just, you know, get mine, get mine, get mine. I'm saying, I'm smiling, I'm doing all the right things, but I'm getting mine, I'm getting mine. That is so often the unfortunate case.
Yep. And so we with that, we have to have like-minded individuals who are serious about helping out the foundation of Black Americans in their community, and not all about what the benefit is or what the money's going to be. And see, kids see that. I know they see it because I saw it as a kid. Kids see that, and this is why we have what we have in Chicago. It's just complete dysfunction. You know, it's complete dysfunction, and kids know you're not serious because kids don't listen. They emulate and they imitate. So if the structure is not there from the adults, which I talked about, they give us more problems, and they're not really setting the example, then that's why kids are doing what they're doing. But when I go out to the things that I do, I saved a few people from going to jail, saved a few lives. Because if you give a kid something to do and not just telling them don't go sell drugs, when you actually give them something and put something in their hand, they'll latch onto it.
All right. Well, we're almost to a break. Do we want to take that break? Because I really want to hear from you, Eddie, because you had you had your own experiences on the East Coast, and we're hearing all about Chicago. I want to hear about the East and your experiences also. And then maybe by then Shelly will be back with us. She had to take a walk away. So let's do that commercial break. Thank you so much, Jarrell. We will be back in 3.5 minutes.
Cool.
The melon.
Oops, sorry.
It's the PPC Radio Show. Hosted by Cinda Williams and co-hosted by Shelly Williams. Music by All Night Long. DJ Joe Storm on the Grown Folks Radio.
Hi, this is Cinda Williams. Before there was a PPC podcast or PPC radio show, there was Pink Panty Confessions, the book. No, I didn't write a book about underwear. It is a self-help memoir where I share some of my strange, complicated, and inspiring moments. It's a blessing for me to share with you. You can find it on Amazon.com or wherever books are sold.
WGFB-FM radio.
So are you ready?
Yeah. How it used to be. Something for everyone. 24/7, 365.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
For the health and safety of our guests and team members, we're here for you. That means frequently deep cleaning our stores and wiping down carts and baskets after each use, reserving dedicated shopping hours for our most vulnerable guests, providing masks and gloves to our team members, and offering contactless shopping options through the Target app, like Drive Up and same-day delivery. We are here for you now more than ever, and your health and safety is our highest priority. Learn more at target.com/a bullseye view.
New Dunkin' Refreshers. Vibrant fruit flavors like strawberry, dragon fruit, and peach passion fruit. B vitamins and energy from green tea. All under 200 calories. Order ahead via the Dunkin' app for a contactless way to order, pay, and pick up in the drive-thru. America runs on Dunkin'. Price and participation may vary. Limited time offer.
Amazon is hiring near you. Earn a competitive wage and start as soon as 7 days. No resume or experience required. Health and safety are a top priority with all of Amazon's roles and sites. Amazon is taking precautions in their buildings to keep people healthy. Go to amazon.com/apply. That's amazon.com/apply. Amazon is an equal opportunity employer.
Hey everybody, it is Shelly Show Williams, host of Single on a Saturday Night. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at Single on a Saturday Night TV. That's at Single on a Saturday Night TV. Follow us on Instagram and we'll follow back. Hey everybody, it's Shelly Show Williams, Philly's Oprah, executive producer of Urban Expressions, Single on a Saturday Night, but I am a business, social media, and media coach. And if you're looking to show up on social media with a purpose, I have a course for you. Have you been struggling as an entrepreneur, trying to figure out how to get people to engage, how to get people to buy, how to get people just to see you on social media? I have just a course for you. Please go to ShellyShowWilliams.com to find out more.
WGFB-FM radio.
So are you ready?
Yeah. How it used to be. Something for everyone. 24/7, 365.
Yo, what's good? This is Tracy Lee, and you already know I gets down with the get down, man. Grown Folks Radio all day.
Hi, everybody. This is Cinda Williams, and I am the co-host of the Melanated Morning Show and the host of the PPC Radio Show. And you are listening to Grown Folks Radio. Radio.
PPC, 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 yeah. PPC, PPC, CPC, yeah. Join me so we can grow together. Conversation, get that healing. Let them know what they're missing. Share with your best friend. Tell them come hear this, yeah. Don't you dare miss your blessing. These powerful lessons, true confessions, yeah. PPC, yeah. A powerful tool for you. PPC, yeah. A powerful tool for you and me. PPC,
Welcome back. You're just joining us. We have our friend from the Daily Read, Jarrell Reed. He has been enlightening us about his experiences coming up in lower income Chicago and how he's had to bust through, sometimes without the help of us, meaning people of color, or Black people specifically, not helping each other. So that's kind of where we are. I wanted Kid to be a part of this conversation because he's also had his experiences coming up in, what do you call it, the ninth floor? Is that what?
Yeah, the ninth floor. I actually grew up two different places. We lived in Queen Lane Projects until I was about 5. And then my grandmother had a stroke and got paralyzed from the neck down. And my uncle had bought her a house. He was in the Navy at the time and bought a house for her. And where that house was, really literally was in Queen Lane's backyard. So I could literally sit on the back porch, the back steps, and still look at them gang worn right in my backyard. So though we literally was not on the ninth floor anymore. And the funny part about Queen Lane, my mama lived there. All of my aunts and uncles lived there because my grandmother lived there. So, and my grandmother was like, how do I put this? She was a hustler. So everybody came to my grandmother's crib, Friday fish dinners, spades, liquor, pot liquor as they call it, or corn liquor as they call it, you name it. And so we lived in the projects until I was 11, 10. And then culture shock hit. My mom got a job with the state, with the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and she saved up some money and she moved out of Queen Lane to, Shelly know where I'm talking about, West Oak Lane. Now at that time, if you was living in West Oak Lane, and that's where all the black folks were
That's
migrating.
when you became bougie.
Yeah, West Oak Lane, Mount Airy, all of that. They got money.
Stuff.
But you got two parents. See, here's the thing. You got two parents. I only had one. So that's when I learned what the working poor really was. And just like Jarrell said, I didn't actually get locked up my first time until I was in West Oak Lane. I didn't actually, and where Jarrell with the home confinement, yeah, I was in confinement already. I was up farms. Yeah, I was Glen Mills. You know what I'm talking about, Shell. I made it all the way to Cornrow Heights. Got out of there. I went there and I was 14 when I finally got convicted. And I came home at 16. Was cool. Went to the military. Did four and a half years in the Marine Corps. Came home, and then went to the penitentiary for robbery. So
and you didn't even have to do it, did you?
No.
And it's crazy. I've heard there's a couple other people I know that did robberies that didn't have to do it. So what is it that's inside of you that says, I just want to do it? Because you, I know about 3 other men. You, I know you ain't have to do it. So what was in it that said do it?
Honestly, at that time, I was really in the streets heavy. Besides, I was DJing. And I don't know if you remember this club. It was called the Rolex Club. It used to be on Germantown Avenue, right across
Might have been before my time. You look.
Wasn't before your time, girl. It was during the time like urban.
It's before my time.
So I was actually DJing, but at the time I was running numbers for a numbers runner. I was an actual street runner, selling weed, selling pills, you name it. My hands was in it. So for me to rob, that robbery was really just a dare. You run around the gun and go, yeah, I'll show you how I do it. And I call myself trying to show off. And then when I got finished doing it, where do I go? I go back to the club where I'm easy to find, which is right around the corner where I committed the crime. Say how stupid I was. So let's go back to what Jarrell was saying about the whole pleading guilty. I didn't plead guilty. No, they got more inventive with me. I pleaded no contest.
What's that mean?
Public defender said, "Oh, just plead no contest. You won't. It's your first charge as an adult." Da-da-da-da. That night, I never made it home, thanks to a bottle of Cisco and a 32 special.
A bottle. So that's what you got. That's what you robbed. You got a bottle of Cisco.
No. The Cisco is what I was drinking.
Oh.
While I was even in that state, and I never made it home. Another thing that Jarrell spoke on, and all of y'all spoke on, this is real. I'm not going to say the name. I'm not going to say the actual name because I can't, because we're on the air. But Shelly, you know who I'm talking about, who is a big politician in that area, and their office is located in that area. I can't even say the street, but you know what I'm talking about. Okay. That person actually grew up with us, grew up on my block. His mom still lives on my block to this very day. So would he do what they did? They would do stuff for that block. I mean, for the block that the office was on, but nothing was done for your own block. Nothing was done for your own, unless it was election time.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they real helpful during election time. They want to be real nice during election time.
Real nice. But you couldn't get nothing out of this particular politician no other time. I didn't actually start getting, because we knew each other. We grew up. He used to date my sister. We literally grew up together. And he would act like he ain't know me.
Oh, you wanted him.
Huh?
He said you wanted them.
Well,
you on that other side.
But you know what's no. You know what's crazy though? What y'all talking about as far as judgment? I dealt with that in my own house. Because my sister went to school, went to a private school. I don't know if you ever heard of this one. It's supposed to be one of the best, Germantown Friends.
Mm-hmm.
She got a scholarship because she was going to Pickett at the time. And they gave her a scholarship to go to Germantown Friends. And she went there. Me, on the other hand, I was the black sheep of the family. I was in the street.
One of them hooligans?
Yeah. But the funny part, they wanted to offer me the same scholarship. Because they said, even though that I was, my problem was I was a behavior problem. So therefore, but when they actually did the test,
Still a behavior problem.
Huh?
Still a behavior problem.
I was a badass kid. I don't know how else to put it.
Mm-hmm.
I was always doing something. The worst thing you can do is give a creative kid or make them a latchkey kid. Don't make a kid like a latchkey kid. That's dangerous. So, but I really feel what Jarrell was saying. I feel what all y'all was saying. Like, yo, it a lot of I hate
to do better. We gotta do better. That's what it comes down to. We gotta, we were fed this crap. We were beat into submission. Mm-hmm. But that is history. And we're still getting beat down. But a lot of times we're getting beat down because of the choices that we're making. You know what I'm saying? We have the means and the talent and the gifts and the strength. We have to be super strong to get through the stuff that we've gotten through.
But then when we have platforms like this, because I remember when you and I first really started the Melanated Morning Show, right? Mm-hmm. I used to get comments like, "Oh, you just forcing your opinions down people. Don't y'all think you think you better?" And well, I had already started the podcast like a year before, but when you and I got together, it was from our own. Oh, you really think you the S now because you with Cinda Williams. You think you better than us because
you do. You do think you better than us because you with Cinda Williams. You do. You think you cute and all.
I want to add to that.
You think you cute too?
I don't think so.
I'm saying.
I interviewed a state rep from North Carolina. And so then the state rep that grew up with my dad, he's no longer a state rep, but I've been knowing him for years. I was like, I find it mighty funny that I'm interviewing a guy 1,000 miles away, and then you right here. I've known you for 25 years. What's up with that? And I'm telling to say that I'm done with him. Like, because the response he gave me was so like, you was really that house Negro that tell on the runaways. With the response he gave me. Because it's like, where's the loyalty lie? It's the people that's going to be the strangers that help you out the most, or they're far away.
Oh my gosh, it's so true.
People right here ain't gonna do nothing for you.
Just like what Kia says, sometimes it's even in your family. I mean, I'm telling you, when I hit my lowest point, and I've hit some points, when I hit my lowest point, it was people I had just met that did the most for me. And I mean, I even had one person that I had just gotten to know, but that was there for me, but they were really unkind in how they treated me. They would help me, but with judgment in every action. But everybody else was like, I can't be dealing with you because you're the one that's supposed to be strong. You're the one that's supposed to be successful. You're the one that helps us. I can't deal with you like this. Get it together. Figure it out. It was strangers. Complete people I had just met or met through someone else that, like, for instance, I've been having car issues for a while now. I mean, I used to have a new car every 2 years, right? That was me. But since I came back from LA, it has been very difficult for me to have a car. And there was a point when I went through a really horrific time and I lost my baby for a year because I was in the hospital. And her dad said, perfect time to take her. And I didn't have a car because he took my car. I didn't want to get into that. But let's just say I didn't have transportation. This stranger, someone I just started working with, said, I have a car I don't drive. It's a Jag, by the way. I have a car I don't drive. Use it. Every time you need it, you just tell me. The car is yours to use. I didn't know him.
Amen.
But that's how I saw my kid. That's how I got around. I borrowed this man's car.
Who had a car? Who had a Jag that they didn't drive?
Because they lived in Chicago on the west side, and they worked in Chicago on the west side, and they took the train. It was easier, it was cheaper. So he just had his car parked out on the street, beautiful Jag on the west side, parked, dirty and everything. And he was like, clean it, you'll take care of it. I know you'll take care of it. Use my vehicle. So I would take the bus to Chicago. He would pick me up in the Jag. I would drop him off, and then I would go and I would take care of my kid, and I would see my kid and love on my kid. Nobody in my life did that. Nobody even thought about that. And maybe they couldn't do that. I don't know. But I know it was this stranger that made sure that I saw my baby in that horrific year of my life. He did. And he just happened to be Black. He was a Black man who was there for me. And honestly, I have been blessed. I know this whole experience of some Black folks not being there, but I also have had the experience of Black people that I didn't know, not because I was sending away, just because they were kind, that came in and said, you need this? Let me help you out. We need to do that.
That's a blessing.
I don't think it's a Black-white thing. I think there's Black people who help and there's white people that help. And I think that's just what it is. It's the heart of that person. I have had some Black people who helped me tremendously, and I've had some white people that helped me tremendously. So it's those people. And I think you were talking about perception. Sometimes we perceive people to be the one that might help us, and they end up not being the ones that help us. So we perceive in those people, oh, well, they're a nice person. They're somebody I know. Or sometimes we think they're friends, and they really might be acquaintances. And I think Cinda taught me that not everybody is in the friend category. Sometimes it's just acquaintance.
I think what hurts the most is, though, the people that you've poured out to and you gave your last to, and then when you need something, you can't find them. That's like the part that hurts.
That's every day.
Yeah.
That's all the time. Yeah. Because the functioning, this is the PPC part of it. The functioning of the relationship, the dynamics of the relationship is you are the giver and they are the taker. They don't even know how to give to you because you're probably nurturing. You probably were taught that by your grandma. You're a nurturer, so you take care. And are you Scorpio?
Pisces.
Pisces. Okay. fish. You take care, right? And when you take care of people and give and give and give, and you never ask for anything in return, it's out of balance. It's karmically out of balance, and they don't even know how to give to you because they never had to give to you. So it's a dynamic that they just don't know, and it's hard for them to change. People have a difficult time, you know. I'll give, like my daughter. I love my baby girl. You know I do. Love her dirty girls. But my daughter would be at home, crap all over the floor. She didn't do nothing, right? She wouldn't help me. I'm like, okay, you got to get it together, do this, do that. I got to fight her. She go to somebody else's house, and she's like, you need help? You want me to help you cook? Because she know how to do it all, because I've taught her how to do it all. But for me, the dynamic is I do for her. She don't do for me. You know, she didn't understand that she was doing for herself. But go over to somebody else's house, she take care of them. You need something? Is there something I can do? Can I help you? That's changed now, because since she's been away, she recognizes who I am to her and that she should value me, and she doesn't take me for granted anymore. But when she was a kid, when she was a tween, teen and a tween, man, she'd be going to everybody else's house, helping everybody but me. and so sometimes it's as simple and yet complex as that. It's that family dynamic. When you got a family, you usually got, depending on how many people in your family, you got, so like with my family, we have 7 kids, right? 3 sets of kids. I was the oldest. I took care of everybody. That was my job. I had, Jarrell, you had to take care of everybody. You take care of everybody. That's your job, to help your parents for whatever reason. You had your reason why your mother wasn't necessarily there, and I had mine where my mom mentally wasn't there. My dad was working 3 jobs. So I had to be the caretaker. Then my brother Hassan, he was the jokester, the one that always got in trouble. He thought he was a black sheep, right? And then there was the next boy, Frederick. He was the baby boy. He could never do wrong. He was the perfect specimen for all A's. And then comes Monica, the new black sheep, right? She the one that don't want to do nothing we did already. And then there's Sadika, who's like, I'm going to be, a senator one day. And she ends up going to Princeton. And then everybody, and then Megan, the wildflower. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to try everything. Give me it all. I'm going to live it all. I'm going to live it all. And then there's Mackenzie, who is prim and proper and won't do anything. And then, so we all have our functions. And so when somebody want to try like me and say, I need help, give me help, they're like, huh? She ain't never asked for no help before. I don't know how to do that. And they turn their back because they just don't know. They don't know how, because they've never had to. And it jacks with their minds, because she's supposed to be the one I can depend on. She's supposed to be the strong one. She's not the one that needs, I've gone on and on, but I have a lot of passion about this.
No, but we understand. When the table's turning, you're the one that needs the help, and we just hope that it will change someone's mind out there. When someone needs your help, just help them figure it out. Even if you can say, "Listen, I don't know what to do, but I'm here for you." Those simple words will help somebody. I don't know what to do. I don't have it, but I'm here for you. That would just change the whole dynamic. I think you said that Jarrell is like the first of 6, right? Is that what it is? First of 6?
Yeah. And there's a big gap. There's nobody in their 30s yet.
Wow.
Oh.
Yeah. I think my stepsister may be 30, 29, but other than that, everybody in their 20s.
So you basically grew up as an only child.
My mom was the one that helped me. My mom was in a nursing home, could not move anything but maybe a little bit of her fingers in her head. Was
that throughout?
No, this was when I was going through a really rough time.
Okay, I got you.
She couldn't help me. She couldn't help me financially. She couldn't help me in any way but this. I understand, love. Talk to me. Just talk to me. That's it. No judgment. No, here's some money. No, I got I mean, just I got your back. I love you. That's what I needed more than anything else, you know. And sometimes that's all it takes to get a person in inspired and motivated to make another move, to get out of the spot of frozen terror and move on.
That's why those programs that Jarrell was talking about, that's why those programs are necessary. Even if we don't have the funds to do A, B, C, and D, if we have mentors that can help younger kids, if we have the people that are in place to help, sometimes that's all they need. They need to know that they have a safe haven to go to.
And the money's there. I mean, like, even in Chicago, they give out, like before Sears went out of business, they gave them a $90 million tax break. Then they closed shop and went out of business and took all the jobs. It's like, really? So the money's there. It's just,
you said no. You said the money's there or no money's there?
The money's there. Oh, the money's definitely there.
Oh yeah, in
Absolutely.
Chicago,
the money's
they
there.
have so much money.
Check this out, and this is not me trying to toot my horn. I'm just trying to give you an idea of how, like, we're fiscally overloaded. When I worked at the Department of Corrections, the overtime in the prison system is such a revolving door. I was able to break into like the 130 category off overtime as a correctional officer. Not with rank, not a lieutenant, just as a correctional officer.
Really?
Yes. And half the time I was in there, no. But yeah, we're so fiscally top heavy, it's ridiculous. Like, and where I work at now, I see where the money's going, and it's going in the wrong place. So
what do you do? What's the answer? How do we change? What do we do? How do we help them? If you see it, what organizations need to get it? Have you identified organizations that might? Because there are some. Even though sometimes the organizations that are doing the most are the ones that people don't see often. They don't see them, and they're not in the in crowd, because we got an in crowd. You got the in crowd, and the people in the in crowd get all the money. But maybe it's somebody that you're not seeing that's actually doing the work. Maybe.
In Chicago, and here, like, this is why I'm like leaving this place in 4 years. But I don't know, and I say that because, for example, right behind me here, some of this stuff are like keepsakes and tickets and events I went to and all of that. And some politicians, when they get these type of perks, they'll give them out to people who probably couldn't afford to get a ticket or something like that. But you got more people that make six figures that want all the free stuff, right? Trying to take it from the people that probably won't be able to get the experience because they can't afford it. So you got stuff like that going on a smaller scale. So when it's time to get some structure together to get money to a boxing program or some type of golfing program to get people to play golf, it's a struggle. They proved that with the marijuana thing last year in Illinois. All that stuff, all that money and grant went to the in crowd. None of the people that really needed to benefit from that got anything. They got nothing.
Well, I know from Sadiqa, my sister who works at the Safer
Foundation. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's their general counsel, and I know because she wrote part of the laws that there were some people that did benefit from that.
Oh, it's a few. Don't get me wrong, it's a few, but I'm talking
some people because of the work that she did and the way that they wrote the law. But the problem is those benefits are there and available. People just don't know about them.
That's true too. Some people just not gonna latch on to it. But I've watched these corporations send Becky in, right, and they getting hundreds of millions of dollars in grants on top of the money they already got, and you maybe about 15 or 20 of us common folk got some of those grants, but not enough to balance out for the amount of people who are incarcerated or caught a felony for marijuana or, got some on their record from 20 years ago. I'm talking about those folks, they really lost out on those benefits. But it's a struggle to.
They don't know. That's what
they don't know. That's true. They don't know.
Those benefits are there for them. They don't know. The way the law is written, they can get out of jail, get their record expunged, and they can be sellers. They can sell the drugs.
I think
it's legal now.
I think the biggest issue is too when they see the paperwork, they get discouraged.
Yeah.
They get discouraged and see the paperwork.
I would.
Yeah, it's a nice little stack.
Is
Yeah,
it, so
but
you mentioned somewhere that you said you're leaving in 4 years. I heard you say that in the podcast. You don't plan on staying in Chicago.
I'm
Why are you
out of
gonna
it.
leave Chicago in 4 years? But why the number 4 too?
Because my son graduates in 4 years. So when my daughter graduates in 2 years, my son, he's 14. So when he graduates, I'm gone.
Well,
leaving-
on that note, let's take our break so we can bring back Jenny.
We got DJ Joe Storm in the waiting room too. He's over there.
And Joe Storm can join us too. And he's going to do his mix. So let's do that 3.5 minute break.
Real quick, before we do that, can I say hello to some folks that's on Facebook that's tuning in? First of all, Rashonda.
Hey, lady.
She says hello to everyone. Diane.
Hello.
You remember Rashonda Shelley?
Yeah, from was that last night? The night before last. Monday night.
Monday, melanated after dark.
We ain't going there. Diane Jackson made a very good point, real quick, right off the bat. Real quick.
Hi, Diane.
Damn. Now I can't find it.
True, unfortunately, I missed.
All I see is true, unfortunately. I don't see anything else.
No, it was something before it.
It must be on one of your pages.
Nah, I'm not. I'm on show. Ah, crap. Never mind. I
We
can't.
lost it. We lost it.
Reshare your point, okay? If you made a point, because for some reason we're not seeing it. So we'll see you guys in 3.5 minutes. Come back for some gems from Jenny.
I'll be back.
In the gym.
It's the PPC Radio Show. Hosted by Cinda Williams and co-hosted by Shelly Williams. Music by All Night Long. DJ Joe Storm on the Grown Folks Radio. Grown Folks Radio. WGFB-FM Radio.
So are you ready?
How it used to be. Something for everyone. 24/7, 365.
After these messages.
Right back.
But that's
I'm
you,
unmuted.
Jenny.
Y'all heard that.
Yeah, I heard you, and I ain't even walked away.
Hey.
Hey.
Every time I hear that, it makes me think of the cartoon thing. Obviously, because that's what it's from. But was that like Saturday morning cartoons that was on?
Mm-hmm. Hey, girl.
Hey.
Hey, Joe. What's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, Cinda? What's up, family?
Hey.
Kings and queens.
Nice to see your picture.
Yeah, I'm about to switch I'm about to switch cameras. So if you see if you see another device in the waiting room, please let it in. So I'm about to jump out for a second, but I'm coming right back in.
Whew. Wow. Good conversation, folks. Oh, Facebook, you can hear us. How you guys doing today? Please tell us how you doing. How you doing? This is have you been able to listen at all, Jenny? I know you.
Yeah. Not to everything, but I've been, and that also has been like, what do I want to share? So many thoughts. So I tried to narrow it down as best I could. Yeah.
So this is the first time you've joined us, Jarrell. This is Jenny. She is our art therapist because she's an artist and she's a therapist. And she always gives such wonderful tools for people to do based on whatever we're talking about. She's very special.
Oh, thank you.
How are you, Jenny?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
I was over here all looking at your background. I was like, is that Crown Royal and a lint roller? You ready to go out, aren't you?
This is Jack Daniel's single barrels. It's 130 proof.
Who is it now?
Very strong. If you want a shot, I got you.
You know, it's funny. I don't even drink.
You see this?
But I saw it, though.
I've had this like 7 months. I'm not a real heavy drinker either.
Okay.
So it just sits there.
Just a little sip on there here and there. But 130 proof, like you don't need much of that, really.
One sip is
Especially
all
if
you
you're not a
need.
drinker like that.
If you're listening on Facebook, do me a favor. If you clicked on the link that I sent you, go off of that and come onto my page or go to Shelly Shell's page, because there you can comment. I don't know why, for some reason, that link is mainly about getting you to watch it, but I want you to comment. So you need to come on to our pages and comment. That's how you do it.
Rashonda just echoed what I said.
Hopefully you heard that, Gentry.
It's the PPC Radio Show, hosted by Cinda Williams and co-hosted by Shelly Williams. Music all night long. DJ Joe Storm on the Grown Folks Radio.
Hi, welcome back to the PPC Radio Show. We have had a wonderful first hour. Thanks to Jarrell and DJ Kid Disco sharing with us Shelly Shell. We've been talking about, amongst other things, growing up in the projects and what that looked like in Chicago, on the East Coast, Philadelphia, and how we have to help each other, people of color specifically, since not everyone, but our audience often tends to be Black folks or anybody. It's you should help each other. You should help each other. That when we're going through rough times, even if it's a person that you look up to or whatever, you should help. Anyway, so Joe's also with us. He's going to bring us our music mix later. But now we are blessed to have our Jenny Graham, who's going to give us some of her Jenny's gems from her self-help toolbox set. Take it away, Jenny.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. It's always great to be here with y'all. Hey, girl, hey. I was like, I had so many thoughts, so I'm trying to narrow it down to try to focus on like what we've been talking, what everyone's been sharing around those layers of helpfulness and kind of, I would say, what gets in the way. And so for me, narrowing it down, trying to stay in my lane of like wellness and healing and transformation and just like what I've been hearing in the conversation. Yes, that's what I'm just going to stay focused on that. So I would agree with like what Shelly was saying, that I think in general, there are people who are helpful people and there are people who are not so helpful, we'll say. And a lot of times the people who are not helpful, they're either stuck in a space of fear or stuck in a space of hate, and hate is born of fear. Fear is often born of pain. So I think I'm gonna just start with that point, because I think, yes, there's a very unique experience when it comes to being Black in America, especially, and how that shows up for us in our communities. But I do agree that I've had help and support in my life from a variety of different people. And so I do feel like it is important to be open to like where that help source comes from, even if that person doesn't look like you. And at the same time, I also understand how disappointing and heartbreaking it is when you're looking at people who look like you and they're not the ones who are helpful, or they're not the ones who are supportive, or they're the main ones who want to get like a hookup or a discount, or don't want to value you or your services or anything that you offer, or recognize, the hard work that you put in to get where you are, and just kind of want it to be handed to them, which is not everyone, but I just want to name that too. Like, definitely have had those experiences, and that's hard. It's hard. It's painful. It hurts. It sucks. Because I think that whole dynamic of like, I got here on my own and put in hard work, you got to figure it out. That comes from a space of pain where it's like people are angry that there was nobody there to help them out. And instead of like working through that pain or that frustration or that sadness of people not being there, it's almost like literally passing forward that frustration or that anger, passing forward that pain. And we can do that a lot of times easily in our communities. And like, I know that we throw around the word self-hate gets thrown around randomly, but we don't really think about the depth of like where that comes from. And I want to echo what Kid Disco mentioned about the Willie Lynch story. So like, if you have never heard of the Willie Lynch story, like please Google it, check it out, because it really breaks down. And what's wild right now is when it says that technically that will stop working. So we'll see what happens, because it said for like 400 years that this will help this enslaved people to basically hate each other and be pit against each other. And based on all types of things, like and all the things that we see in our communities about color, about hair texture, about different abilities, education levels, all of those things. And those are the things that we still see actively impacting the psychology of Black people today. So I think, like I said, there's just this dynamic where people just don't want to help because they're angry. And that has nothing to do with people who come behind you. I think the other thing that I see happening a lot of times with young folks is that sometimes people will try to hold you back because they just haven't had those experiences and don't know how to navigate certain spaces. I've seen that with young people who have certain like career aspirations or certain talents that they aspire to, and the adults in their lives have held them back because they just don't know how to navigate those spaces and can't guide them through those spaces, which has a lot to do with protection, which has a lot to do with fear. Like if I don't know how to navigate the space, how do I navigate and help my child to get through there? How do I guide them through that? That's too scary. I'm not going to do it, so therefore I'm going to hold this person back. Or therefore I'm not going to support this person's goals or support this person's dreams. Which all that does is it reinforces like stay small. It reinforces stay in your place. And that's the same thing that we've been told historically as a people all the time, is to stay small, stay in your place, do what you're told, follow the structure that we want to tell you to follow. And if you do anything other than that, you're a problem. And a lot of times we do that. Or like I see a lot of times with like young folks. And so like I'll just share briefly. I feel like so I grew up in the suburbs until I was 17, and then I moved to Southwest Philly. So yeah, so like all of a sudden I'm like in Southwest Philly, like running. Kid Disco said, "Wow, you weren't even on the mic," but like yeah, so all of a sudden, I'm running the streets in Southwest, and I ran the streets. So like some of the stuff that Kid Disco and Jarrell were talking about, I'm like, y'all were my peoples, like, but straight out the suburbs, but y'all were still my peoples. So just to kind of give you an idea of like I've had an array of different experiences. But I got myself on a tangent and I lost my train of thought on that one about the guidance aspect there. Just be totally honest. But, mentorship and stuff like that is really important. Like, I mean, for myself right now, like, especially after the pandemic, I was like, I want to go volunteer somewhere to work with young people, and not in a structured way and not like with any type of organization or anything like that. Like, I just want to be a present adult figure that young people can know that I will consistently show up and you can talk to me. I just so happen to have the skill set as a therapist that I can hold space for emotions and help them process and understand things. But I feel like I feel obligated to do that because so many people have poured into me. And that's so important for young folks. Like, I know I brought that up, being a troublemaker. So when I was young, getting into stuff and being a troublemaker, those are my favorite young people to work with because they all have leadership qualities that are not being recognized or nurtured as such. When any young person kind of goes against the grain or does something outside of the box or does something that other adults around them don't know, they don't understand or don't have experience with, that becomes a problem versus like an opportunity of curiosity to support, encourage, and like maybe even like research and learn together. So, I'm just really grateful that I've had people pour into me. And so I feel obligated to do that. And I think the last thing I'll say is the whole idea around people think, like you think you better than somebody. Because I would get that often. Or I would get the whole like people would start to talk to me and be like, oh, you cool. And I'm like, what is that supposed to mean? Like, what would make you think I wasn't cool? Like, you just assume something about me without knowing anything about me because why? Because I sit upright. Because
you grew up in the suburbs and you out here in Southwest. You don't know nothing about no Southwest. You're suburban. No, I'm just playing.
But you know what's crazy? Actually, the guys I was cool with, they were like, yo, you the most hood chick, not from the hood we ever met. How does that even happen? And I was real different. When I came to Southwest, that was the early 2000s. I had a pink Schwinn bike with a side view mirror. I had a blowout afro, and I was out here talking about, yo, where the weed at? I was confusing to people. I was extremely confusing to people when I got to Philly. So they liked me because I was different, and they weren't so sure about me, but they got to know me and love me for who I am.
I do good, girls. I wanted to play it so bad.
Yeah, but you know what I found though too, in terms of like people are like, oh, you think you better than or whatever. It is so, and I find this in like the work that I do, like even coming into therapy or like seeking out coaching and mentorship. It is a lot easier to point fingers and talk about what's wrong with somebody else than to look at your own self. That takes courage. So like anybody who's willing to ask for help, that takes courage. That takes real strength. And so, a lot of people will sit back and you can get mad at somebody for living out their dreams because you got dreams that you're afraid to dream. You got dreams you're afraid to take action on. And instead of looking at yourself to explore and understand what is getting in your way, it's a lot easier to sit back and shoot at other people and like try to shoot down their dreams. But one thing I found that was really interesting that was shared with me before was that if you're confident, that only looks arrogant to people who are insecure. Confident people see other confident people and we be like, okay, I see you. You know? And so that has a lot to do with like where some people are just at in terms of being afraid to access their dreams. And a lot of that though does have to do with, and it's not an excuse, but it's also reality. A lot of that has to do with the trauma experiences that people have been through. One of the responses to trauma is a fear of dreaming. It is a fear of thinking too far into the future. And we see that, you know, we hear young people talking about like, I don't think I'm gonna make it to 18. I don't think I'll make it till 21. So a lot of that is a trauma response because it's protective and it's in survival. If I don't think about what's going to happen in the future, you know, because it's too scary to think about that. And because so much around me is showing me that things aren't possible, right? So that's like just a natural response, I would say, to trauma a lot of times, which then again requires some healing. It takes some time to really look at and understand like the ways that we've been hurt and how can we overcome those things. Because as people, like we are born with everything. It sounds cliche and corny, but it's true that we are born with everything that we need inside of us. But life happens, life gets real cloudy and gets in the way, and it covers and clouds our ability to connect with the most amazing parts of who we are. So sometimes therapy might just be, a lot of times therapy is about clearing through, like sifting through that stuff and letting the stuff go that's not ours. Because almost every single trauma experience, one, it's an experience, it is never your identity. All the trauma experiences do is they impact us and they disconnect us from our most authentic, natural selves. And so that's like a lot of what therapy and coaching and mentorship and all that is about, is how do I clear through and sift through everything to reconnect to the most true, authentic part of who I am. And the last thing I'll say is about the crab and barrel metaphor. So I'm an artist, so I'm a visual person. So think about it. Crabs in a barrel. Well, that comes from the idea that the crabs are always trying to climb out. So, right, they climbing on top of each other. While you climbing on top, you pushing somebody down. Somebody else trying to climb on top of you, push you down. That's what we do to each other. However, if we thought about it from a very visual perspective, if all of the crabs in there recognize that one of these crabs is big and strong, he can be the base, or she can be the base. We'll say she, potentially too. If each crab made a decision that we are going to stand on top of each other. We are going to organize and structure ourselves and stand on top of each other. We can build a tower, and then more than half of us will be able to get out of this barrel. If more than half of us can get out of this barrel, once again, if we are organized and work together, the crabs who are outside of the barrel could knock the damn barrel over and everybody is out. So that's my last little thing I'll say about this.
I like that.
I was really trying to live a bomb-free day because somebody said I do it too much, but
well, that was the appropriate timing.
It wasn't over her comment. It wasn't that. But you mentioned something about confident, the confident people talking about the confident people. I love confident people. But there are some confident people who present confident, but then walk into society and put down the other people. And then they are the ones that say, oh, you're not confident. That's why you don't like me. But if you present confident and then put down the other people, oh, did she go to school? Did she do this? If you putting down somebody, that to me, that's not confidence. That means you have some type of level of insecurity that is making you lash out at somebody else because you're just presenting as a confident person.
That's faux confidence. And I agree.
Faux confidence.
Faux confidence.
Fake confidence.
Yeah. And you're right. And there is some other, it's insecurity or fear that's underneath of that. Because like, why do I need to knock down somebody else or talk about what somebody else doesn't have or like can't do? They don't have anything to do with me. You know, and I think that's fear, because I think there's always the fear like that, you know, somebody's going to take your position or take your job, but also that's like such a deficit mindset. I think too, when you're in an area, when you don't get out of that area and you don't travel or experience different people, different cultures, different, you know, you really begin to think that that's the world. And so if you're thinking like in Philly, because I say when I first moved to Philly, I was doing a lot of networking, and there was a lot of people that I met that I kept seeing at the same events over and over and over because we clearly had some of the same interests and passions. I was offering my services as an art therapist to say like, hey, these are the ways that I could, you know, support what you're doing with your business, to collaborate with you. You know, like almost nobody ever followed up with me. And you know what one of my friends told me? she was like, people don't follow up with you because you live the work that you do. They out there talking about the work. So they know that they can't partner with you because eventually they're gonna be transparent, and they know that you're gonna see that in them. So I think a lot. I'm getting on. Sorry, I have so many different thoughts going through my head at the same time right now. I feel like I started saying something, then I had another point that I was going to follow up with, but I lost it because I just have so many thoughts and feelings about the context of this conversation today, and I'm trying
to go back to the trauma. Focus. I mean, I know that Jarrell was talking in the podcast. I don't know if we mentioned it now. We're talking about the trauma of life. Do you think that your trauma is healed? Do you think that you sought out a counselor, or was it counselor or therapist or anybody to heal the trauma? Do you think it's still there? Do you think it's still something that plagued you at any time?
Yeah, I mean, the experience doesn't go away. You know what I mean? But what happens is that you have skills to cope with it so that you don't have to run from it. You are aware of your emotions and you're aware of what you need to do to take care of yourself. And it doesn't like haunt you. It doesn't control you, and it doesn't.
Jarrell's thoughts about it.
Yeah, I was saying Jarrell mentioned that he had a lot of trauma when he grew up. Like he didn't share a lot of it there, but that trauma from his mom and things like that. That trauma from when you're growing up. Do you think that you reached out to a therapist, or have you even recognized it as being trauma that might be still there?
Getting all the therapy I can get, ongoing. It doesn't bother me as much. Then, like I said, when you're a kid going through that, you think it's normal. You don't recognize it. And then it affects you when you're older. So it really didn't affect me mentally until like my 20s, to tell you the truth. But now that I'm inching towards 40, the mental trauma doesn't bother me as much. Now it's the physical trauma that I went through. I broke a lot of bones, had a lot of near-death accidents. So yeah, therapy is a must. Is a must.
Therapy is a must, and you're saying that yes. You said for the therapist, so the therapy is a must.
Yeah,
and you believe that through therapy, the trauma of what you went through has helped you to be a better maybe mate to someone, a better parent, a better because if you had an example that wasn't the best parent, then it's hard to know how to be a good parent. Do you think that helped you to be a better parent?
I think my trauma affected more so my relationships, and then mainly my relationship with my kid's mom. I think my trauma directly affected that, because she didn't quite understand it because we were like opposites, and I wasn't aware of it and was too arrogant to admit it until I really started to sit down and pay attention and really look in the mirror. And then when my grandma got sick, I really started to really recognize it. So I think my trauma was strictly attributed to that in my relationship because it was mostly, dealt out from my mom. And to this day, I don't even think she recognizes it. And she's almost 60. So yeah. One thing
she don't recognize that she put you through what you.
No, she don't recognize. No, she doesn't. It doesn't. The 80s and 90s to her were a blur, right? And I don't really even. She doesn't. It hasn't dawned on her like, man, your oldest child could have been dead several times based off some of your decisions. Then your two middle kids were almost taken from you because they had drugs in their system. Like it doesn't register because she still has the attitude of I'm the mama and that's it, So me and my siblings would talk about it to try to help her, but it hasn't sunk in.
Some people are in a different place, We all are different places of growth, and the good news is that you evolved and you recognize that. Because I know for me, because I went through that same thing opposite with my father when I went through some major changes in my life. When I long story short, I died. And so I had that whole review of life. And I saw that my patterns with men started when I was in the womb, based on, and I write about this in this new book I got coming out. Y'all got to check it out when it comes, Surviving the Storm. I was afraid. I was afraid of men. And because I was afraid of my dad, because he was loud, he bellowed, he drank too much sometimes, and he just, so a lot of my issues with men started there. And unfortunately, I wasn't as young as you when I realized it. It took me a long time to make this to recognize my patterns. I knew I had patterns. I just didn't know where they started. I didn't know where they came from. And once I saw where they came from, one, I could forgive my dad, and two, I could evolve and I could change and I could make better decisions. And I'm still doing it. I mean, I'm still effing up, okay? I still am dealing with those same issues, but I'm much better than I was. And so maybe your mom is stuck there in this, where she is right now, but your children won't be. And their children won't be, because you've broken the pattern.
I had to break that quick. And they don't even, my kids have no clue about their life at all. Like, I tell them certain things, but they're clueless. They don't know about their life. And these suburban kids too now, so.
Mm-hmm. It's hard, like, from that generational standpoint, like Jarrell, like you said, like, I'm the parent, like, 'cause I shared about that before, like, my dad mostly would be like, I'm the authority figure, like, do as I say, not as I do type thing. And I was like, okay. But it's challenging, because it's like, for our parents or people around us who were around when trauma experiences happen to us, they have to be willing to look in the mirror to look at the pain that they're feeling too. And if they're not ready to do that, then they can't really support us in looking at our pain. Like Cindy, like you just said, like people are in different spaces of what that growth looks like and what people are ready to deal with. And like Jarrell, like you said too, about like the normalization of trauma, because technically, like by definition, trauma is any experience that disrupts stability or safety. Like we all have experienced trauma on some degree or another, no matter who you are, And I think that's the thing too, is we've just normalized that like disruptions in safety are just part of life. And so if they're just part of life, then there's nothing you can do about it. But then that also is like accepting that I'm helpless and that I'm hopeless. And I think, we do get to a point where it's like, I realize like I have choices, and like, this stuff might not be it might be an uncomfortable process, but I'm already uncomfortable and in pain. So it's also kind of like, well, what do you have to lose? You might grow and get better. So.
Yep, absolutely.
That was one of those moments where you're like, okay.
I didn't know whether she was finished, and I was like, I didn't want to be the one to jump in. I was like, well, is she gonna finish? Is she finished?
I didn't know either. So that was probably
because sometimes you be coming up with multiple points, and at the time when I was thinking trauma, you was giving a definition. I was thinking about trauma being a plunger, like your toilet, and you just gotta plunge it out, like you trying to unstop. I had a visualization as you thinking trauma. I was like, that's like a toilet. You're just trying to unplunge it, and that's what I feel like trauma is. You just gotta unplunge it.
Kid, we can't hear you. You look like he. Oh.
What is that?
Nothing. He can't say it on the on.
Oh, he said he was saying what? I want to know what you were saying. I want to hear the uncut version, not with curses though.
Just what the F is what he asked. But I don't know that.
Oh, I didn't read this. That's what he said.
He was talking about your imagery.
But it did. But she was talking about it, and it just made me. It honestly had a thought, because sometimes trauma is so stuck, and you need to plunge it out, and sometimes it takes a long time to plunge it out, and then once you plunge it, it's like release.
I think it's a great metaphor, because it's literally like things are blocking the flow. Like if our spirit, our being is the flow, like things are blocking the flow. Sometimes the things that are blocking the flow are biodegradable. Sometimes the things that are blocking the flow are or what do you call it when they say something objects that are in the, when you get something in the toilet that's
kid
foreign objects. It could be a variety of things, but yes, you gotta get
it's just the imagery. But listen, think about it. But when once the toilet is all uploaded, then you got a chance to deal with the issue. Then you got a chance to call in the plumber that says, all right, here's what's blocking it. Then you got a chance, the plumber's a therapist. Then you got the therapist that can deal with each and every issue. But I don't know why that was the imagery that came to my head. But that's what I feel like. I want to be, I want that fun, huh?
It's a good one. That's why
I love it. Yeah. And then like after it's all like plunged out and like clear, then you can clean it. You can get a nice little one of those little color carpeted tops for it. You might get a quick one of the cushy seats.
And you can make it all better. And it's true.
Instead of dressing it up when it's still shitty.
That's what I'm saying. That's it. In the words of that.
But sometimes there are foreign objects that you don't know what those objects are. And until you can figure out what the shit is, excuse me, as soon as you can figure out what it is and what it's made of, then you can start to dissolve it and get rid of it and move forward and start flowing again.
And never use it in that toilet again. And there you go. And that's what
either put it in the trash or put it where it belongs, because it probably isn't yours anyway.
And it can grow a plant somewhere else.
Boom. And that's a boom word. That was boom weather. Boom. Where's the boom?
It come the boom. I don't know why you just been thinking
that's what I'm thinking. Here comes the boom. Here comes the boom. We're trying to heal this trauma around here. Listen, once you realize
I think that's better than the boom right now.
I like that one. I like that.
Like that. Listen, that's what I'm trying to get that flow. Let's get that flow going.
Yeah.
I am such a.
Yes, you are. Thank you.
We love you for it.
I am such an a-hole.
Well, we're trying to heal this trauma. You know, we have so many organizations like George Cephas and Survival Success going out there, and people are really talking about trauma now. And that's what I think we don't get the word. Like we've all been affected by some type of trauma that's still stuck. And until we think about it, until you get the help you need, that trauma's gonna be staying there, and you're gonna realize relationships. Yeah. Relationships is the biggest thing. It affected the city. It affected me too. It affected the relationships. And how can we have these relationships and thinking my marriage is going to be great if you still operating in some type of fear? Because what you say about fear? Tell me about fear.
Who I did?
Yeah, you said fear was
all those things come down to fear versus love, right? Fear versus love, more than hate versus love, because hate usually comes
from fear. Yeah, it is fear versus love. That's you vibrating on one or the other, or fluctuate in between them. Yeah, and of course relationships are impacted because if we think about just like from a baseline of trauma is a disruption to safety or stability, how do we build relationships with people if we don't feel like anything is safe or stable? We can't. And especially if like when depending on what our experiences are, if I don't even feel safe and stable within my own self, I definitely don't know how to build a relationship with another person. But then the catch-22 is as human beings, we're wired for connection. We need each other. And we don't know how to balance that. So I think that's also too how we can go from one extreme to the other in terms of like survival and protection is like I'm either overly dependent on people or I'm so independent I don't need anybody. But what we're really trying to find is interdependence. And interdependence is that like I'm capable of taking care of my own needs, and I'm also able to allow other people to be there for me, and I can be there for other people. And there's like that reciprocity. But it's almost like two individuals who can come together, and there's the overlap between them, but there's still two individuals who know how to take care of themselves.
That makes sense. I mean, hey, look, I don't need anybody to. Well, you know what? I want somebody to take care of me. Look, I want to be one of them kept women. The women that don't have
No, you don't. No, you don't.
No. I work because I want to work. But how about somebody taking care of the bills for once? For once, For once, someone paying the mortgage. For once, somebody paying the. Oh man, I can't wait for that day to be able to share those responsibilities.
Yeah, yeah.
Can I ask a question, Jarrell? So once you made that realization about yourself and your connection to your mother, and you had your therapy, and you recognized that your relationship with your children's mother, the issues, at least from your side, I'm sure she had hers too, were stemming back to that. Once you made that realization, were you two able to come to some kind of peace together?
Yeah, we've been separated for almost 8 years. But yeah, it was very peaceful. It was a peaceful breakup. You know, it's like at that point, my grandmother had passed by that point. So by that time, I had realized it. My main thing is historically, I like to snap out. My anger problem, I had to work on that. And all of that was directly related to the trauma. But yeah, peace is what I thrive on. Like, if I smell anything that's not related to peace, I'm running. I'm gone.
Well, I know for me, when I recognize my patterns, and because a lot of times we have a tendency, I mean, I'm a little different because I always blame myself for everything. I always blame myself for everything. And that's an issue too. But sometimes we can always blame our mate. They're the problem, and this is why they're the problem, and they did this and they did that and they did this and they did that. And when you recognize that you are part of that equation, and your doings were part of the issues, and then you can find that peace even if you're not together. Like my daughter's father and I, we're great while we were together.
And I know that it's definitely some peace and forgiveness on her end, because she asked me to marry her 3 years ago. She's been with this guy for 6 years.
Wow.
She's married to him now, but I was like, nah, we just let that go. But yeah, I know that it was definitely closure, definitely.
And sometimes you have to come to the realization. You can sit there, oh, they're doing this wrong and they're doing that, and I don't like them. I don't want to be around them again for this, that, and the other. And then sometimes, no, not most times, to thy own self be true. You got to be like, you know what? No, they didn't do anything but just be themselves. So you, as a person, have to say, they're not wrong. They're not doing anything wrong. They're just being themselves. So either it works, you're compatible with them to be themselves, or if you really realize that you two guys, girls, guys or girls, whatever, aren't. Hey, this is the new one. I'm saying.
Facts indeed.
As a matter of fact, we're gonna have a guest like that. So yes, facts.
People.
Yep.
But you have to realize, well, what about, oh, he or she is really, really, really like, pissing me off. They doing this. What have you done to piss them off?
Every time I get mad at somebody, like super mad, I'm like, what are you seeing in them that's in you? Because every time I'm that affected, it's because it's something in me that's being reflected back to me in their actions. Every time. It's hard to take. It's like,
because we can have the tendency to take things personal, you know. And so like I love what you said, Kadisco, like they just being who they are. And so if I'm taking something personal about who they are, or if I'm triggered by something that they're doing because it reminds me of my own patterns and my own past stuff, it may not even have, like that person may have no malicious intent at all. They just being who they are, but I'm triggered by that. So then I have a responsibility to look into like, well, why am I triggered by that? Where does that come from? Where does that pattern come from? And it's so true. A lot of times we have a part in a lot of the stuff that happens to us. I mean, granted, there are definitely times where like we've been victims of situations, but like I remember, and I had to look at myself, like in my dating patterns, I had to really, and one of my friends said, like, I was the common denominator of these things not working, you know? And it was like, okay, I need to look at that. And I started looking at that. And one of the issues I always used to have with dating was like, I'm like, I don't know how I find these guys. They just be taking advantage of me. They don't appreciate me, this, that, and the other. And it's like, well, I'm overextending myself to people who don't even have that to give. That's my problem. That's my fault. Why am I putting myself in those positions? And so then when I realized that, I stopped doing that. And guess what? Even though I have times where I feel emotionally triggered by certain things because it reminds me, it feels familiar to those past experiences, but I also know that I'm with somebody who's like not doing that. So I got to check myself to be like, okay, where is this feeling coming from? And does this have anything to do with this person's pattern of interacting with me? And a lot of times it does not. So then I got to look at like what I need to do to take care of myself in those moments, you know?
And on that note, we got to start wrapping this up because we want to have our music mix from DJ Joe Storm. He so graciously came today because he's with us. Maybe he'll be with us next week too, because I'll talk to you that we're doing a night show. Unfortunately, Jenny's not going to be with us. So I might as well get my stuff out now. But before, I want to say, Diane, I want to read these last comments because I was getting them. Get right tools from your therapist to continue with the good flow, especially after your trauma, to have a better flow in your life. And Diane, I want to talk to you about coming on the show. B. Keith Brandon, trauma is when you safely are impacted. Physical safety, emotional safety, social safety, and moral safety. Safety is where it starts, and you cannot get better without being safe. Rashonda said she's so proud of you. And Keith Brandon says, at Grown Folks Facts. Very good and very true. And thank you so much for being with us today. I'm gonna quickly say mine since I already started. Tomorrow, back here from 10 to 12 Eastern with DJ Kid Disco and I for the Melanated Morning Show. Friday, I have April Deep Aries on my podcast. Check it out. Monday is nothing. Yay! Tuesday, we are doing a live pre-record of PPC because next week I'm busy, so I'm not going to be with you guys.
You're funny.
So we're going to do a pre-record live. It's going to play the same time, Wednesday 2 to 4, but it's also going to be live next Tuesday evening from 7 to 9. And we are going to have my friend Lisa Rose on as our guest therapist. And we will have, like I said, April Deep Aries. And I love you all. Thank you. Now, let's first, Jarrell, please, if people want to hear about your show, whatever, how do they reach you?
I'm on Instagram at In Perspective TV, IN_Perspective TV. I'm on YouTube, In Perspective TV, same hashtag. And Anchor, Apple, Breaker, all have my podcasts uploaded.
Awesome. Please put that on the chat. Go to my page or Eddie's page or somebody's page and put all that information in. Okay, Jenny, what's going on with that stuff?
So next Wednesday, I'm doing a workshop called my 90-minute breakthrough. So if you are looking for some practical tools and tips on how to understand the way stress shows up in your body and what you can do to treat it so that you can access more peace and joy and serenity in your life, come join me. I'll be using some art therapy skills in that, but just line, shapes, and colors. You don't need to be an artist for that. And I can drop the link, and you can also look it up on Eventbrite, the 90-minute breakthrough.
Right. Shelly Shell?
Yeah, I will. Motivation Monday is on Monday. Monday is with the guest is Catrice, our very own Catrice Bailey from Single on a Saturday Night and Motivation Monday. That's at 7 o'clock. Friday is the single, the Save Single one. And do you know I'm getting an award from the Save Single people? Because I guess I am a good Christian, huh? I'm a good Christian girl, good clean girl.
Wow.
Saved.
That's 7 o'clock on the next Friday. So anyway, Instagram at Shelly Show Williams. Boom, that's it.
All right, so everybody's gonna put their stuff on the chat. I'm gonna say this one thing before I let DJ Kid Disco say anything and Joe Storm do his music. Happy Father's Day to the daddies. We did our Father's Day show early last week because I was able to have an interview face to face with my brother, so I wanted to do it then. But I remember you. I love you all the men who are mentors that might not have children yet, all the men who are making an effort to raise the next generation. Thank you so much for all you do. We love you very much. And that includes the men on this panel. I love you. Happy Father's Day. DJ Kid Disco, did you want to say something?
Yeah, real quick, since you're not going to be here, Girly over there is going to be here next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
I'm gonna put that on my calendar right now.
Yes. Next Wednesday, Girly is going to be with me. Girly at the bottom. I call everybody. If I love you, I call you Girly. Since there was no head knockings last night, I'm going to do my own version tonight at 8:30.
All right. And y'all got to hear it because this morning he played one of his songs. It was so cool. I was like,
The Jeffersons meet KRS-One.
Okay.
I had KRS-One doing a huckabuck with George Wheezy. Yeah.
All called up like George Weezy.
Thank you. All right, Joe, it's on you. Thank you all that joined in. Comments, love you. Thank you.
Thank you.